Hey there fellow developers, welcome to JS Noob Craze. I am excited to dive into today's topic, a crucial aspect of building robust and user-friendly applications, forms in React Native with validations. We all know how essential it is to gather accurate data from users while ensuring a seamless and error-free experience. In this video, we will explore the ins and outs of creating forms in React Native, implementing validation techniques, and making sure your users interact with your app effortlessly. Whether you are a seasoned developer or just starting with React Native, this is the perfect opportunity to level up your skills. So without further ado, let's jump right into the world of forms and validations in React Native. So let's, without further ado. So in order to save some time, I already created the application using the React Native command. And on the left hand side, you can see the code, and on the right hand side, you can see my emulator, which is showing currently the hello world. So in this video, what we are going to do is, let's create steps. Okay, 1 minute. Cool. We don't need this. The first is we are going to install package, that is the React hook form and yup for validations. Second is we are going to initialize our form using React hook form, and which is going to contain the text field, select, and a date picker. Mainly these are the fields that we were needed in our forms. So we are going with these fields. And the third is we are going to create a common component for all these fields. As you work in big projects, instead of creating one text field in different forms, we usually create a single component that we reuse in different forms if we want. So we are going to implement using this approach, and at the end of all this, we are going to have the form. One more thing, we are going to learn about keyboard avoid. So what is keyboard avoid is basically when our form are quite big, so whenever we click on text field, the keyboard overlaps our text field. As we go further, I will show you how this affect your user performance, UX also. So let's start with installing the packages. Clear. Okay. Let's see what are packages. We are going to use React hook form. So it is a third-party library. React hook form is a third-party library that helps us to create a form in our mobile application and use it. It provides different functions like validations, is touched, and other stuff, all the stuff that the form needs. And React hook form reduces the amount of code you need to write while removing unnecessary renders. So this is quite useful as I am using in different projects. And another one is the yup. So what is yup? So basically a yup is a schema builder for runtime value passing validations. For form, we need to create the validations like that we want the first name to be a required field. So instead of writing a function for that, like if first name is equal to empty, then return error, we can use simple yup third-party library to create a schema. And then after clicking on submit, this schema will automatically gives errors if the schema doesn't match, else it will submit the form. So we are going to use these two stuff. So let's install this npm yarn add yup and React hook form. No need to add yup. Let's wait for some second. Till it was installing the packages, let's start creating our form. Let's create a component with a folder name as form. Let's name as user form. Nice. Let's create a function user form.tsx. User form.tsx. Let's rnfe there. Let's fix all the autopixel problem. Let's use in our app.tsx user form. Let's save it. Let's see in our emulator. Yes, you can see the user form here. So this is the component that is going to take all the values we want. And let's start by initializing. Since our first step is we are going to install package, this is done. In order to confirm, you can go to the package.json file. Here you can see React hook form is installed with the version of 7.45.4 and the yup also. So first step is done. Second is we are going to initialize our form. So for initialization purpose, we need to use a use form which comes from the React hook form, and it provides different functions like set error, set focus, set values, trigger, watch, and other stuff. We are going to see all of this if needed. Else you can go to the documentations of the hook React form. You can go to the get started. Here you can see all the functions. Go to React Native. Here you can see how you can implement this also, like use form, default values, and other stuff, control, handle, submit, form, state, errors. So let's go to the code again. We go to the use form. Let's call the handle submit. So this is basically calling on a button click, like on submit button click, we call the handle submit. Let's control this, provide all the functions of the use form. Next, let's call the form state. This provide all the errors if our validation schema doesn't match. Let's create a default values. Let's create const default values is equal to, we want a first name as empty, we want last name as empty string. One more thing, we want a gender, that is going to be a, I will also add here, this is going to be a text field, this is going to be a text field, this is going to be a select field, and the next is we are going to have date picker, which is going to be a date picker. So this is going to be our default value. Let's replace it with this default value. The next step is the in resolver. So in order to use the yup with resolver, we need to add one more package, yarn add yup resolver. We need to add the 1 minute. Okay, we need to add the @hook form resolver yup. I think this will work. We need to, in order to work the yup with the React hook form, we need to add this one more library, yarn add @hook form resolver. Just click on this. I will add this in the description. 1 minute, what is showing? And if you think this is a bug, please open report. Package.log. Okay. npm I. Let's install with npm I @hook form resolver. Okay. It is saying hook form resolver. Oh, sorry. The name is resolvers. Let's install npm I @hook form resolvers. Let's see. Okay, @hook forms resolver. So this is the package name that allow us to use yup with our React hook forms. Cool. So we have the resolver now. Let's call the yup. Let's call the yup resolver. It is not importing. Let's import it from import yup resolver from @hook forms resolvers. It is showing fixed all auto fixable. So it has, okay, something has been changed. It's resolver /yup. Here becomes the yup resolver. So we will use this. We will add the validations like this. Let's move it here. Const validation is equal to, let's create the validation part. Validation is equal to, let's create a util for this. util.ts export const user form initial value is equal to, let's go to our default value. Let's control X with control V. Delete this part, delete this part. Let's just format it. Nice. Let's comment. Okay, so this is going to be our user form initial value. So let's change it with this user form initial value. We don't need this part. Let's create the validation. Export const user form validation. Let's call object from yup. Then let's shape it. We know we have the first name. So first name should be a string type, and it should be a required. And if user didn't fill that form, we will give the error, please enter first name. Okay, then second is the last name. This should be a string, but this is not required, so we can just enter like this. And the third part is we want gender. We want this to be a string dot required. Please select gender. Please select gender, and the last one is the date. 1 minute, where should be DOB, date of birth. DOB as string dot required. Please select DOB. So we have created the validation schema also using yup. Let's go and pass this to here, user form validation. Cool. Something went wrong. Okay, we don't need this part. Nice. As we have initialized our form like this, here you can see we have the use form that we have provided the default value to the form, and also added the validation schema to this form. Now we are going to create our basic form. Let's create a text. Okay, let's create a text with name, please, and complete form. Complete your form. Let's give it some styling. Style as font size as 14 pixel. That would be fine. Let's create a view and move this code to here. Let's style as display flex direction row, and justify content as center so that it moves to the center of the screen. Let's fix all this photo fixable. Let's comment this for now. I'm not here going with the styling part, so I'm going to do the inline style here. Let's save it. Let's go to here. See, here we have in the center. Let's font size 14 to 18. Let's font weight as 900. Let's save it. Okay, it should be a string. Please complete your form. It is showing like that. Cool. Now let's add some margin top. Margin top as 50. Good. Cool. Please complete your form. Okay, so from now here we are going to have our text fields. Let's go to our view and create our first text field. So for text field we are going to use the React Native documentation, React Native text field. You can type like this. Here we go, text input. As React Native inbuilt give you text input to store the value what user type. Like you can go and test also like this. So we are going to use that, but instead of using direct text input, we are going to create a common component. Here we are going to create the fields. Here we are going to create a file with name CustomeTextInput. So .tsx rnfce. So why we are doing this is because in our big projects we usually create the components for everything. Like for text input we create a common component so that we can reuse in different forms if we want, and also if you want to change the styling part, you just need to do the styling part in the custom text input rather than changing the input styles in different files. So let's go there and we'll just create a view. We have view. Since it is going to be a React hook, so we need to add a controller that we are touching from the React hook form. And let's see, so what are the controller needs? First, controller needs a control of the form. So from where we are going to get this? We are going to get this from our React hook form. So let's go to props. Let's write the control. This is going to be, let's go with any type. And one more thing we are going to need is the name. We are going to need is the error. This is going to be a this can be undefined also or optional. And one more is we need label. This can be optional also. Let's comment it for now. Okay, let's create a fc. So what is fc? Fc is basically in our TypeScript we need to provide the props. This is basically called the functional component. Like this is functional component that need these props. So let's control, we need name, we need error, we need label. Nice. So we provided the control to the controller and we don't need this. And the second is we need render, and this render is basically what we want to show. This render basically have what we want to show to the user. So this render will have all the properties that our React hook form provide us. Like render will give you everything: field state, form state. So we needed the field, and from here you can also fetch the name on change. We basically need the on change part. We can fetch the on blur also, and we can fetch the value part. Okay, cool. So let's go to our render part. Let's create this. Let's go with, if we have label, we want to create a text with React Native. We already have text imported. We want a text with a label, and let's do this to add some styling. If you want style font size as 14 pixel, let's color as gray for now. If we provide with label, we will add this, and the next step is we will add the text input. One more thing we can add, okay, dot rest. And since this text input has all other properties also, so we can extend a text input props. We can extend text inputs, and since we don't know all of this, so we can do like rest, like we can spread the rest of the props and pass it to our text input like this, dot rest. And text input usually needs value, so we have value here. You can see on line number 20. So we will provide the value. We can provide the on change text, which is going to set the value of the React hook form. We are going to have auto capitalize as null, because in iPhone, basically whenever we type and then whenever we type, it automatically capitalize the first letter. So in order to this, we can go with the, let's with this only. We already imported the text input. Nice. Let's fix all auto fixable problem. Cool. And also on blur, okay, on blur, we can click on the on blur. So what on blur will do, on blur is basically change the set touched value to true. Like you can know whether the particular text field is touched or not. So simple. And it is giving an error controller. The name is missing. Okay, one more thing is we need to provide the name of the text field. This is basically the ID, if you can say the ID part. And let's go with our error. If there is some error, let's give the text and show the error. Here also you can find the error if in the form state, I think in the field state, let field state. So we have error here. So it also give you error, but we are sending error from the field only. So let's state it as, if we are sending error, then show the error is not. So here we go. This is basically common component to create a custom text input. Let's try to use in a form. Let's from use form, let's create a custom text field, text input. It basically need control. So this control comes from this React hook form. Let's go with the control name. Let's name it as first name. So you should make sure that this name should be similar to your initial values that you have created or the user form validation. If it is different, then it will create a different object with that particular name, and it will not store that value. Okay, so we have now, nice. And also we can send the errors. Okay, error, if we want, error, we already have errors. So errors dot, here we show all the values, and here is the message. If there is message, then we will send the message, else will not. Here we go. So let's save it, and let's say, here we go. As you can see, there is a text field already there, so you can type also. Nice. So in order to confirm that whether it is getting saved or not, you can check by adding a text here, and let's go with the let's create a const first name is equal to useWatch. Let's the control comma control the first not, let's see, we need to give the control part, control comma, we need to that we want first name, we need to control, and we need to give the name as we want to watch the first name, and first name, let's here. So if it is changing, then it should show the first name also. Like you can see, we are changing the text input and it is showing in first name. That means that the custom text input is updating. Let's keep this Cool. And since we have added the on blur also, okay, it is not okay. So let's create the new input also. One more thing, let's add a style so that it shows border color as black, border width as 2, and let's save it. Cool. You can see here the border of, let's also give some padding to the form, padding as 30. Nice. Please complete your form. We have the padding also. Let's give the style as margin top as 30. Okay, we have, let's give some border radius also, border radius as 30. Let's come with 10. Okay, cool. So we have this. Now also let's give the label, since we can also pass the label. Let's give it as first name. Let's save it. We have the first name as a label here. We can add the margin bottom also, margin bottom as 5, so there is a spacing between the text field also. We can also give the placeholder also, placeholder as enter, or just enter first name. Let's save it, and here we go. We have the placeholder, we have the first name, we have the last name. Let's copy this part and Control V. Let's name it as last name, enter last name. Cool. So we now do have the first name and the last name. As we can see in the app.tsx file, we are going to initialize our form application. React to form, text field is done. We have created the text field. Now we select and date picker. So we do have this part. Let's fix all this auto fixable problem. We don't need this now. We watch the use of useWatch. useWatch is basically to watch where the value changing, like first name is changed or not, and if it is changed, give the current value. So we can complete this also. Now let's go to the next part. We are going to have a gender. So in order to have a select field, we are going to use a package. In order to go with the select part, since our next is going to be have a let's see, we completed with the first name, we completed with last name. Let's go with the gender part. So for select, we are going to use the package React Native Select dropdown. Let's go and check React Native Select dropdown. Here we go. React Native Select dropdown. It is weekly download is quite good, and last published is also latest, so no issues with that. And I already used that in different projects, so it is working absolutely fine. Let's install this package. npm I React Native Select dropdown. With that, let's start creating our one more custom select field. Custom select.tsx. Let's rnfe initial custom select. Let's see whether we need to do something else or not. Use yarn add done. No need to do anything else. You just need to install the package and it will work fine. Let's go and start creating our application. Let's start create our custom select. So it is going to be similar to that of the text field. We are going to have the controller here. We're going to have the controller with first name. So let's type the custom select props. So what are the props that we are going to have is the options. So options is going to be of type. Let's create a file with name type.ts. Export const export type option type. Option type is going to be a label as string or value as string. We can also add icon if you want, but this is going to be an optional part. Let's go with the option custom select. Let's option type. Cool. So we have the options. We need a control. Let's name it any. We need name as string. We want error, that could be undefined. We want label, that could be undefined. We want placeholder that can be empty, and also we want value as option type. Cool. Let's fix all auto fixable problem. We can go with the fc. Let's import all this custom select props. Let's go with the control, name, options, error, label, placeholder, and value. So for our controller, need a name. Let's name it as name. We need a control, so we will provide that control also. Next is we will do the render part. So for render, we will need the field. We will need the Okay, something is missing here. We need this. Okay, render. We will. Yeah, we need the field. Field is going to have the on change. Nice. So in order to create similar to this, we are going to have the custom text input. Let's copy this label from here and paste it there. Nice. Let's fix all auto fixable problem. Let's import the text part. So we already had text. Nice. Let's go to start creating our select dropdown. So let's call the select dropdown from React Native. So what does it need? It needs a data that needs the options. We will need the default value. We can give as the value. We will need the on select. We can give the selected item, and on change we can provide selected item dot value. This selected item is going to be of type option type. Let's give it as option type. So we are going to store the value part here. Let's comment it, fix all auto fixable problem. Let's do the button style. Okay, so in order to save, let's go with the button style. Okay, so in order to save some time, I already created the initial styling for the text field. Let's go with the style.ts. Let's do like this. Okay, 1 minute. Fix all auto fixable problem. Let background color as the hashtag FFF, and the drop down 3 button text as XX0. Let's do the screen width. We don't have the screen width now. So from where it is screen width is coming is we have created the hook also. So in order to create, let's create a common, not just folder, but just create a file with name hook.ts. Let's create the export const screen width as dimensions.get. Let's screen.width. Here we go. So now we can use the screen.width anywhere in our application. It's not importing from here. Let's save it. Okay, my mistake. Screen width. Okay. Screen width. So now we can import this screen width. Oh, here we go. Let's import the style sheet also. Let's fix all auto fixable problem. Here we will go with the dark color with hashtag 000. Nice. Let's go with let's go with our select styles dot, as you can see, we have all the classes. So name of this class will be drop down 3 button style. Now let's do the render customized button child. So this is basically the options that we will get after clicking on the button. So this is going to be a selected item. Let's render. Let's do the return part. Let's create a view and give some styling. So for this I already created 1 minute. So we have selected styles dot. I already created the CSS for this. So drop down 3 button child style. I will add this in our GitHub repo and give it in the description box so that you can go and copy the style if you want. And if we already has the selected item, so let's do the selected item dot. Actually we don't need to do that. Let's give the text. Okay, let's give the text and let's give it some styling as selected styles dot drop down 3 button text. Let's name it as selected item dot. Okay, so it is not showing here, so let's give it a type, option type. Good. So we can name it as selected item dot label, and that's it. So what we can do is, if selected item is there, then we can go with this, else we can go with the placeholder or simple select. So we have added the selected item. This is basically a button in which we will click the button and basic model will open, like I can show you. So this is going to be a button Egypt, and on clicking on this we are going to have this drop down row childs. Let's style with that. Let's give some styling to our drop down style, and I already created this file. So let's give it selected styles dot drop down 3D drop down style. Next we are going to give the row style, styles selected styles dot drop down 3 row style. Let's render our customized row childs. So this is basically the options that we are going to see in our model. Let's create the item on it. Let's return create a view with initial styling as selected styles dot drop down 3 row child style. Let's add a text. Let's add a text with a name item dot label. Let's give this as option type and fix all auto-fixable problem. So we do have this also. Now let's add a, if we have an error, then show the text as error. Let's style as color as red. Cool. Let's disable it for now. Cool. So we have the custom select here. Let's see what error it is giving. Okay, so let's auto fix all auto fixable problem. Cool. We have custom select also. Let's try to use it in our form. Let's go to our use form. Let's copy this part. Let's call as custom select. So we have the control. We need to keep the options here. For now, let's start with label as male, value as male, and another one as label as female and value as female, and one more. Let's create as others and let's name it as other. Let's do the fix all auto fixable problem. Okay, what it is showing, we don't need the icon part. Label string and value string, label string, value string, undependent not assignable to type, option type. We have options as option type. We're already showing this as tire file. We don't need this. Okay, we want this. Let's see what error is saying is the type label string value undefined, or this is not assignable to type option type. What is showing? Let's give it as option type. Let's do the fix all out. Oh, one. This is the problem. This extra comma is there. So fix all auto fixable problem. You can see that we, without any problem, we already had. Let's it as gender. Let's name it as gender. Let's name it as gender. Cool. Now let's save this. Let's go to our Android emulator. Yeah, cool. Oh, let's change the placeholder also. Let's name it as select gender. Here we go. Let's try to give the value also. Like if we select on this female, we are getting the male. We are getting other also. Cool. So we already had this part. And one more thing. If you want to give the value, you just need to go and create a watch. Const selected gender is equal to useWatch, and let's control comma name as gender. Now you just need to select it send gender values as we have this. Let's move this as control X, const gender option. This gender option, let's give it this gender option dot find. Let's give the item dot value is equal to selected gender. Nice. So now we are giving the value also. So let's fix all these auto fixable problems. So we are going to have we already have the select part, we already have the text field, we already have the first name. Nice. And cool. So let's go to our next thing, is the date picker. Let's go to our app.tsx first. Text field is done, select is done, and let's go to our date picker. So for date picker, we are going to use a package React Native Date Picker. So let's go and check that React Native Date Picker. So as you can check, weekly download is quite good. We already last published 4 days ago. Nice. And all other stuff is quite good. So let's go with the React Native date picker. Let's React Native date picker. Let's install this package. We don't need to do much here also. So installation, we can go to the GitHub page. Here we go. Export should be greater than, React Native should be 0.57. No need for this, just do this part. And if you are working on, if you want for iOS also, just do this, and that's it. So we are going to do that also. Once it's installed, let's change directory iOS and port install. So it will install the package. So since it was till it was happening, we can go and create our own custom date picker also. CustomDatePicker.tsx. Let's go with RNFE custom date picker. So these also need some of the props like control and other stuff. So let's do the custom date picker props, and let's give the we want control, we want name, we want error if there is any, we want label, we want maximum date if you want, but this is going to be a DOB, so no need for that. So fix all auto fixable problem. Let's go with this. Let's this fix C and boom. Let's control name, error, and label. Nice. Let's create a simple controller here. We can have the controller here, and we can provide with the control. And the next thing is we will have to give the name. The name is going to be the name. We can provide with the render. So for render, we are going to return to provide the return part, but we can do this. We are going to have the label as we have for different selects. Let's go and copy this part, custom date picker, and add it. Let's go with the field, and here we want the on change, on blur, we want on change, and we want the value. Let's go and fix all auto fixable problem. Cool. We do have this also. We are printing the label. And the next is we want to, let's see how it works. React Native date picker. So we need to React Native more info about. Here we go. So we want a state which will check whether the date picker model is opened or not. We need to store this date that we are using. No need for this date because we are using React hook form to store the value. So let's create a okay, so let's create a state to check if the picker is open or not. Open picker, set open picker is equal to use state. Let's name it as false. And for controller, and then we can add the touchable opacity. So what does touchable opacity? It is basically making a button touchable opacity is same. We can create anything touchable. So any view, because if we want view to be a clickable, so we can't add the on press here because view doesn't provide that. But if you want the view to be touchable, so just wrap around the touchable opacity, and now this view is also touchable. So touchable opacity, let's do the on press and set open picker as true. Or what we can do is set open picker previous, not a previous, just change the value. And then the next part is we are going to have a view. Let's do the pointer events as none so that it doesn't. Let's create a text input. Let's create a style. Style could be similar to our custom text input. Let's give this only custom date picker, custom text style. So text input, and on blur we can call the on blur, and value in get. Okay, for value it is going to be a string. So currently we don't need that. Let's do the editable as false. Since React Native date picker is basically a simple model, so we don't need a text input to be editable. We just want it to be a clickable. So let's go to our in 1 minute. Let's go to our one mistake here. We want this. Okay, let's fix all auto fixable problem. Working fine. Disable this. Let's go to our date picker. Let's install it there. We want it to be a model type. We want it to be open when open picker is true. We want it to be a mode as date only. We want it on confirm. We'll get the date that we want to store. On change, we want it to be a new date with date dot toString. So that string value is, and next is set open picker as false. On confirm, we want this. We have and fix all auto fixable problem. Cool. And now we want an error to be print if there is any error. So here we go. As it's showing something is missing, we want date. Let's date it as value. New. Let's think it is going to be string and it needs to read a date. So let's date it as value. Let's, if we have value, then do this. Else just go with, since it is type date, just go with the new date, like current date. And new date. Nice. So we have the date picker now. We have the date picker. One more thing we needed, I think. No, everything is fine. Cool. Let's save this part. Let's call the custom date picker. Let's go to our user form. Let's call the custom date picker and check whether it is working or not. Custom date picker. Let's call the custom date picker. We don't need any options. We don't need any value. We don't need any placeholder. Let's fix all auto fixable problem. Let's name it as DOP. Label as date of birth. And this is going to be a DOP. This is going to be a DOP dot message if there is any, and that's it. Let's see whether it is working or not. Okay. Okay, this is done. Let's do the Npm start and npx react native run Android. Okay, so let's test it. We have created the custom date picker. Let's click on the date of birth. We are getting this. We can select the date of birth if we want. Let's click on the confirm. It is not showing here. So it must be a problem with the, we are not providing the value. Yeah, we are not providing the value here. So let's give it as the value and save it. Yeah, you can see the date of birth here. Let's, if you want to cancel, so it is giving error. Okay, so we are not giving the on cancel. On cancel, we just want set open date picker as false. Cool. Let's save it. Now let's click on this. Let's go to this. We want, here we go. So we are getting the date of birth here. You can format the date as you want, like value. You can do like this: new date, view, new date, value. Okay, new date, value dot get minute, get time, get UTC date, like this. Dot toString. Let's see whether it will work or not. Yes, you are getting this. You can format it. You can format using date, FNS or moment if you want. So for now, I'm just printing the string here. Video is going quite large. So let's go to the value and here we go. Here we go, date of birth. So we have the date of birth. We have the gender. We are able to first name, last name, gender, date of birth. All are looking fine now. Let's see what error is. Okay. Okay, nice. Let's see in our use form. We have the custom date picker now. Let's go to our app.tsx, select done, date picker, done. And now we are going to create a common component for all these fields. This part is also done. We already created. We are going to learn keyboard avoid. So what is keyboard avoid? Let's see. If I have a text field, custom text input, and it is there after this. Now if I click on this, as we can see, this keyboard is overlapping our last element, last name. So user will not able to find which is getting changed. So one thing is we are going to fix this problem. This is basically because of the keyboard, because keyboard overlaps our views. So in order to solve this, we are going to create a component. Let's create a common. We are going to create a component with keyboard avoiding wrapper, keyboard avoiding wrapper .tsx rnfe. Nice. So this is going to props children as jsx.element, or we can say React Node also if you want. But let's go with this. Let's fc it. and we are going to have the children. Let's call the keyboard avoiding view. So what is keyboard avoiding view? Let's check in our React documentation. Let's go to keyboard. So the component will automatically adjust its height, position, or bottom padding based on the keyboard height to remain visible while the virtual keyboard is displayed. So whenever you click on this, it will go upward side so that the last name, the text field, is visible to the user. So let's go to our code. Let's add this keyboard avoiding view. Let's style as flex as 1 so that take the whole screen. Let's add a scroll view and also add touchable without feedback. So what is touchable without feedback? This is basically allow user to touch without giving any response. Like in touchable opacity, you get some opacity values, like something has been clicked, but with touchable without feedback, user will not find that something has been clicked or anything else. So let's do the on press here, and let's do keyboard dot dismiss. So this is basically whenever we click outside of that text field input, the keyboard will be closed automatically. And let's do the children. Let's delete this part. Let's go there, fix all auto fixable problem. Now wrap our use form using this so that the field doesn't overlap the. So let's go with this keyboard avoiding wrapper. Let's delete this. Okay, let's see why it is not showing here. Let's go to the keyboard avoiding wrapper. Okay, we don't need this part. Let's save it. As we can see, now we are able to see all the text field. We can click on the last name and we can see that it get moved up in the upper direction, and we can type it and can enter. Also, if you click on any other place, you close the keyboard. So this is basically because of this keyboard.dismiss, touchable without feedback. So we are able to create a form using this. Now let's create a button for submit. Let's create a simple button using button. Let's name as title as submit, and on press we are going to do the handleSubmit and on submit. So this on submit is going to be a function that is going to be get called const on submit. Let's go with this, so it will get all the values, and let's call alert and values dot. This is going to be a type of currently. Let's do this, and let's do the console.log and values comma values. Fix all auto fixable problem. So now everything is fine. Let's with this alert, let's save it. Now we have the submit. As you can see, we are able to scroll also. So let's submit it. As you can see, some of the field is not entered, like first name is not entered, please select gender is not entered, date of birth is not entered. Let's enter this. That's 2022. Let's select gender as male, his first name as Rohit, and let's go and click on submit. As you can see, we are getting the values. So here we go. So we are going to learn the keyboard avoid. This is also done, and at last we are able to get all the values. So as we have seen in this video, and there you have it, folks, a comprehensive journey through the realm of forms and validations in React Native. We covered everything from setting up basic form structures to implementing complex validation logic, all aimed at helping you create apps that user will love to interact with. Remember, a well-designed form can make or break the user experience. So don't underestimate its importance. If you found this video helpful, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more in-depth development content. If you have any questions or topic you'd like us to cover in future videos, drop them in the comments below. Keep coding, keep innovating, and I will catch you in the next one. Happy coding.